everybody, welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
Hello everybody, my name is Joe.
So Joe, I'm going to come right out and start the video with this. Tell me a little bit about the God-shaped hole that you used to have inside of you.
Yeah, I'll be interested if anybody else had or has that God-shaped hole. So Sharon and I were talking a little bit just before we hit the record button, and we wanted to talk about somebody other than the a-holes. So we talked about the God-shaped hole and try to stay positive.
Well, Joe and I, when we talk about moving the channel forward and things we want to do, it's not that we're not going to ever mention our exes again, but to have us in a relationship sitting here talking on our date night about our exes.
It doesn't matter if you're in a relationship or not. For anybody to be talking about their exes for years and years after it's over.
Actually, that, you know what? That's very true. I look at it that way with us doing it. But yeah, either way, yeah, that's true. You don't need to have the ex in your life forever. So we're trying to talk about some other things. Not that they won't ever come up, but, we're talking, like Joe said, about the God-shaped hole. And that really is the key to recovery. Do you want to talk about that, Joe?
Everything starts with awareness. And
Yeah.
I'll be, I don't know with the majority of our listeners if they've recovered or if they've gotten to a certain point. There was a point for me where after the narcissist was gone for about 5 or 6 months, and I had asked myself, just out of the blue, this inner voices, like, if the narcissist was the problem, Joe, and they're gone, why the hell are you so miserable? And that led me down a real turning point in my recovery where I had to really reach out to God and build that relationship with them, where I was able to connect the dots, so to speak, my codependency, my own trauma, how I tried to fill this hole I have inside that I was kind of born with alcohol and drugs and money and people, places, things. Eventually, a narcissist, unfortunately, that corroded what little was left of my heart.
I think that happens to a lot of us. You and I grew up sort of similarly, just in the sense that we both grew up in narcissistic homes. We didn't have happy childhoods. We weren't happy children. And that all of that, I think, pushed us into the entanglements that we ultimately ended up with. Like I was telling you earlier, I was with, somebody mentioned in a comment a couple of days ago. The thing with the comments, you guys, I just want to say this. Sometimes you'll see like a video and it'll have, say, 6 or 7 comments. It seems like, oh, that's nothing. Like, why isn't she getting back to comments? And why haven't I seen this comment she was talking about? When I get comments, because I don't even know how many videos I have, over 300. So I get comments for every video I make every day. So you don't see them, but I see them. So this person made a comment, and it was on an older video. And I can't remember exactly what they said.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
It was the one that I read you the other day. It was the one where they were talking. Oh yeah, something about. They said something along the lines of, "I can spot a narcissist a mile away. How could you be with one for 20 years?" Like implying basically. I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was kind of like, "How stupid can you be, woman?" And I feel that because of course I do feel that way a bit, but at the same time, I recognize I didn't know what narcissism was. I didn't know. And that's all that I knew growing up. So when I'm really not making excuses, because I'm really okay with everything and I accept it. But I'm telling you how I was.
You were nice about it. I read the comment. I love comments. I like bad ones, good ones, whatever the case. But when I read that one immediately, it was like, well, what the hell are you doing wasting your time listening to narcissist channels if you spot them a mile away, you asshole?
Yeah, yeah. Just
but at the same time, I get it in a way. Most of my friends and loved ones didn't understand why I stayed.
Well, that's true, but they wouldn't have said to you, "Oh, come on, Joe, I can spot a narcissist a mile away." This person was so smart that they could do that.
Well, God bless them. Everybody's entitled to the to their opinions. Mine, it was a matter of codependency, low self-worth, and we put this word empath in this category where you think that we're all good people and loving and kind, and it's just not the case. There's a lot of flawed, broken empaths out there. Just because somebody has a capacity to be honest with themselves and have some empathy doesn't mean that you're a good person. Now, I was no saint, but I wasn't, Lucifer or anything like that. The point of the matter is that it wasn't until I started looking at what was wrong with me and my own childhood trauma, perceived or real, and all the things that led up to why I ignored the red flags and chose to ignore or chose to be abused for this long.
Joe, I know I've said this on the channel before, and I know I've told you this, but just for people that don't know, Joe was the one who said to me one day, and I never thought about this before because, Joe always says, and I love this, is that, he or a lot of us, most of us probably have the equivalent of a PhD in NPD because we learn so much about it. But I don't know, like I think a lot of us, we don't know we're with a narcissist for so long. And then we would discover it. You want to learn more about it. Like if a doctor told me I had some disease, I'd be looking up about it.
Especially if there was something as like, I never knew that this existed.
Yeah, me neither.
Like when I thought of psychopaths and sociopaths, I always watched Discovery Channel or A&E where they have serial killers on. I didn't know like that people could kill you slowly and silently without actually killing you, but like that are like viruses and plagues.
Well, narcissism is a strange thing because you can't really explain it to other people. And if you do, it sounds so minor. Like this person is vain, like, oh yeah, my husband or my wife thinks they're great looking. Well, I don't know, Joe, like, couldn't you deal with that? Like, I think I could probably live with that, not what narcissism really is.
The personality disorder is so effed up that it took years to kind of accept that there's quote unquote, if you want to call them human beings out there that don't necessarily have a fully developed personality, and the one I was with was sociopathic and very malignant on the higher end spectrum.
But you're living this way for so long without knowing, normal. And then when you discover it, it's like this huge shock, and you forget about yourself because no matter how you are compared to the narcissist, you are a bastion of mental health.
Yes. See, the thing about it is like, what happened was it was one of the first dots that connected was, holy crap, okay, so that's it. I'm not nuts and I'm not alone.
Me too. Oh, me too. Yep, exactly. Because you think you are because you don't know anybody who experiences this. And then when you discover it, it's a huge relief.
And then you find out there's hundreds of thousands of people out there that you're not alone. That was just a relief. What happened was, and maybe this happens with most people, is like I knew about all the symptoms, like the DSM-5, like I studied Robert Hare's traits of psychopathy. Like I was really into it. And that's great. It's good to know, like, okay, I know about tornadoes now. Like I know what to expect.
We almost have like our own little lingo. You know what I mean? Like stonewalling or, all the cluster B personality traits that most people wouldn't know unless they're like psych majors or actual psychiatrists, psychologists. We just... my view on that is we're so shocked. I could not believe it, and I wanted to learn about this. It's almost like I couldn't help myself. All along I should have been focusing on myself.
It was watching like a documentary about my life on like some channel where like they're talking about a psychopath killer that the wife is with, and her husband's a psychopathic killer, even though she wasn't a serial killer. But like, it's like, why don't they have programs out here? Because this is just as deadly and very covert.
That's what we try to do.
And the manipulation and it's crazy.
But that's what this channel is about. At this point, Joe and I, we want to try to move forward and leave the narcs in the past and go talk about recovery, moving forward, how you can move past this, how you can still live your life. I mean, Joe and I, we're starting over. It's really like somebody like swiped like the clean, swiped it. I can't even say that word. Yeah, swipe the slate clean. Yeah, and we're going to start over. We're going to do it, and we want you guys to do this too because. And we're going to talk about this in a minute, but getting past or through a lot of the stuff related to the narcissist, that's your answer. It's not understanding narcissism more. It's getting yourself past that where the narcissism is in the past and you can live your life because you're not a narcissist, thank God. So you can move forward.
You have to shift the perspective inward. And what I found was, wow, okay, so I also am delusional. I also am unconscious a lot of times. Just many things about how broken I was. I had to be perfectly broken, I think, in order for God to help me like connect the dots to what happened.
Do you think, because I know they say for like an alcoholic particularly or a drug addict that you need to hit rock bottom before you kind of like change your life. Do you think rock bottom for somebody who's with a narcissist is when you discover kind of what narcissism is? No, what do you think it is?
I think it's an inner... See, I was living at my rock bottom like it was fully furnished, man. I had the TV, the couch, and the sofa. Everybody has a certain threshold of pain that they could tolerate and live with. and when the pain becomes too bearable, to me, when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, when I didn't want to live, but I was too afraid to do the alternative, that the pain got great enough where I had to do something, and I had to cry out for God. Like, that's the whole solution to the God-shaped hole, is for me building that relationship back with God, because my low self-worth was really the root of my codependency and not feeling comfortable in my own skin and not loving myself. I had to get honest with myself. Did I really, like, when I was doing the shadow work and inventory, I had to look, did I really love my ex the way that I claimed I loved her? And I had to say, okay, I have to sleep with my wallet underneath my bed. I would never tolerate any of my good friends, their wives cheating on them several times. Like, how do you love somebody like that? And I actually had to say, that's not love, Joe. Like, screw the narcissist. Like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why did I put up with
That really
abuse?
is the secret, because the narcissist is just a consequence of what's wrong with us.
Yeah, there was a question or there was a statement that I was told one time, when I got sober. I was telling my mentor or whoever in our recovery group, like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, this and this and this and this. He goes, oh really? He was like, you do realize that your best thinking got you here. So there's a lot of times when people talk to me and they're complaining about the narcissistic relationship and this and that, and it's all about the narcissist. I'm like, dude, your best thinking got you into this entanglement. Like, when are you going to start taking a look at yourself? Because the narcissist was a small part of the problem, and knowledge sometimes could be a liability, because then you're too smart for your own good, you think, and you're not teachable. But when you start looking at yourself and how screwed up you are, and you're building that relationship with God, that's when the growth starts to occur. Or at least you start planting and fertilizing the garden.
I know that there's people out there that are going to say, and I respect you, like, if you say that God didn't have anything to do with you getting out of the narcissistic relationship or entanglement. Like, we say, for both of us, God got us out.
Oh.
I would still be with my ex if it wasn't for God. I'm positive of that.
Yeah, I know myself. I was beyond human aid.
Yeah.
No amount of love for my brother, sister, best friends could tell me. They didn't understand what I got,
No.
and Einstein says, and it holds to be true, like, the same conscious mind that got you into the problem can't be the same conscious mind that's going to come up with a solution. So I had to be in enough pain to cry out for God. Here's part of the issue why I try to I get the message out there about, like, looking at yourself. There's so many times when I started learning about narcissism, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and it was so much about when you discard the narcissist first, or the narcissist can't stop thinking about you and they'll never be the same. And a lot of it was contradictory. And I was like, well, I thought for most, like, cluster B personality disorder, especially narcissists, out of sight, out of mind. Like, they really don't think about you much when they have another supply.
Well, I think you want to believe that,
I
especially at first.
It was my emotional thinking which got me into the problem in the first place. And what would happen is like, nothing about those other videos or commentators or anything like that. That's cool. But for me, it got me stuck on the narcissist and emotionally in emotional turmoil, rather than logically assessing the situation, like, objectively, to say, okay, Joe, why did you choose to be abused for 20 years? Were there red flags? Dude, forget about delusional, the narcissist, are you delusional? Holy crap, I am. Like,
Yeah, you can never make somebody else change. Like, if I really wanted you to do something, if you don't want to do it, there's really nothing that I can do. And that's how it is with a narcissist.
in a way, recovery is like, I almost, like, well, I do. I can't even do it on my own. Like, I need God, and I need other people too.
You said something recently that really hit me. I don't know if I told you this. You have been, I hope it's right that I'm saying this, you've been struggling getting up as early as you want to. Like, that's like an issue that you have. Like, I know you want to get up earlier. Like, you've just been, like, exhausted. And one day I said to you, you were thinking about getting up early the next day. And I said, do you want me to wake you up? Do you want me to encourage you to get up? And you said to me, well, no, because I have to do it for myself. Like, I couldn't do it for you. I could encourage you, I'll shake you, throw water on your face, whatever, but you're the one that needs to do it. And it's kind of how it is when you're dealing with a narcissist. It doesn't matter what your family, your friends say. You have to look at yourself, and it doesn't matter about the narcissist either. We're focused on the narcissist because they're so messed up. But why are we with somebody that abused us? When you said that to me, Joe, why did you stay with somebody that abused you for 20 years? I got mad at you because I was like, oh, how dare you? But I was mad at you for like 2 days. But of course I was thinking about it over those 2 days. And it occurred to me at one point, damn, yeah, why did I do that?
It gets you looking in the right spot with it, which is inside. You guys, it would be awesome, but we can't do it. But if all of us we always start the videos that we're coming at you from the garage because we got a heated garage. We got the chickens in here. It's a nice garage. But if we were in a support group together and we were sharing, it would suck to spend, like, if it was an hour long, 50 minutes talking about the narcissist instead of like talking about our childhood trauma and like what, not to use that as an excuse, because like I take responsibility and accountability. I made some bad choices and bad decisions, and not beating ourselves up, but wouldn't you rather want to relate to somebody in recovery on the road? Like, man, like you feel lonely sometimes too, or you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, and like, okay, so there's many things. Like, codependence is just a word, but it's like the tip of the iceberg. Understanding ourselves and knowing that we're not alone, and like encouraging ourselves to move forward. Like, if we didn't do that, at least in my opinion, I would have stayed obsessed with the narcissist. Like, I never would have.
You never would have known. I wouldn't have known either. None of us would. We're focused on the wrong direction. My relationship with God has, I'm so aware that it could fall off at any time. I could suddenly next week tell you that I haven't been praying, or like I know that happens. So I'm aware of that. So I try, very conscious about my relationship with God, because I don't want it to go away. The greatest thing that has ever happened to me, and I have Joe and my kids, but God is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me, is God coming to my rescue, saving me from the narcissist, giving me my life back. And then I can appreciate life in a way. Like I tell Joe all the time, I'm so grateful to have Joe. I'm grateful to have my kids. I'm grateful because I know what it's like not to be grateful, to not have things. So I almost feel like somebody who, you hear about these people that were in the Depression and they have like all this food in their basement and they're always afraid. I feel that way to a degree still, like that I know bad things can happen. So I'm grateful, and I'm open about being grateful for certain things.
Well, even like not necessarily being afraid, like the people that during the Depression are the ones that are looking at the next generation, be like, and these guys aren't working enough. Like they're lazy, and they don't appreciate things because they know what it was like to not have. But I got what I wanted, and one thing I did learn was that Joe doesn't always know what's best for him.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like I'm some courageous saint. I literally was on my knees crying out to the universe, God, whatever you understand God to be. And we reconnected, and if you pollute a river for long enough and then you stop polluting it, believe it or not, most often, as long as you stop throwing in pollutants, the river will regenerate.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, like we have a little garden inside that God-shaped hole, and we could start watering again, and the garden will blossom and bloom.
It's incredible to me the way that my life has changed, the way your life has changed, the way our kids' lives have changed. Everybody's adaptable. In the worst of it, you don't think that you are. You think you won't be able to take it. You won't be able to tolerate it. There's been many times in my life I've thought that about things. Thought like I can't go move forward from here. I can't do it. But I managed to do it somehow, and I know that's God. I don't give myself any credit for it. But when it comes to narcissism, and this is my experience and Joe's experience, if you dwell on the narcissist, that's not where the recovery is. The recovery is focusing on yourself, and not like in a narcissistic way, but why did you end up with a narcissist? I can't imagine that there's somebody out there who was with a narcissist for any length of time and can really truthfully say, oh, I saw no red flags at all. Like, they completely tricked me. Even in retrospect, I had no idea. I think the narcissist is who the narcissist is. We're seeing them as somebody that they're not, but they're no good.
My ideals, like, it really turned my world upside down when I was doing the inventory and the shadow work, and I was like, and I thought with all of my heart that I loved this person. And when I got honest enough to say, how do you love somebody that you can't trust, that has cheated on you, that has gone against everything, you're sleeping with your wallet? That's not love. And I'll tell you what, that my whole world was pretty much rocked, because that means I was wrong. That means that this ideal of love that I have may not be the right way I'm looking at things. And it just opened up a whole, I don't know how to, it's just opened everything up for me to be like, man, there's some things that I really need to kind of get back to.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you feel now that you've pretty much gone through those things?
I told you this, and I mean it with all due respect, is that my last act of love to the narcissist was no contact. It was my way of self-dignity, of saying, I can't even, like, and you know how, like, I think about myself, like, I'm no saint, you guys. I'm a recovered alcoholic and drug addict. I've done the work. I made the amends. But some people, when I say, like, the narcissist, at least this one, they don't even belong in the same room and be able to breathe the same air as me. That's how, like, just playful and rotten they are.
I feel that way about my ex too. I can relate to that when you say that. I know exactly what you mean.
But more importantly, what I said by not saying anything was, you don't have a right to do that to me or anybody else.
Yeah.
Because all I was doing was enabling her to treat me and other people that way and thinking it was okay. And the gaslighting, I would start to believe the lies, which fed her truth and her magical thinking. So it was, it's a whole different ballgame now. What I'm trying to do too is what you taught me like over a year ago was pain for me, unfortunately, has always been the catalyst for change. And I have a high threshold for pain, which is not good. That means I got to go through some serious shit before I have enough humility to cry out for help. Well, instead of maybe making pain be the motivator, maybe I could make love be the motivator instead.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. All of us, we need to love ourselves enough to forgive ourselves for the things that we didn't know we were even doing. When I was codependent, I thought I was being a good wife. I didn't know I was hurting myself. And ultimately, when you're codependent, you're hurting the narcissist too. You know what I mean?
Enabling them.
Yeah, well, maybe enabling is the word I'm looking for. That's the truth. But there can be such a difference in your life when you go through this. There is no way I would have gone through this without God. There's just no way.
Yeah.
And today, I feel similarly to my ex. I was actually thinking earlier today, I don't think about my ex that often, thank God. But I was thinking about him today for a little bit. And I was indignant. I was angry. How dare he? You think, like, I'm like talking to him in my head. You think you can treat me like this and that's cool and you get to still have me? You can do this and I'm just going to be waiting for you? Oh, like hell. You can treat your kids this way and I'm going to be okay with that? You get to this point where you're like, oh, hell no. But prior to this, I was basically that he knew me that way. That's how I would be. Oh, it's okay. Yes, you stole money from the kids. I forgive you. And then like patting myself on the back because I'm being a good wife. I don't think that's what God ever wanted.
It was very different for me. See, about 8 or 9 years ago, when she had an affair, I don't think it was her first, but the first time I was aware of it, and it devastated me. I picked myself up by the bootstraps, and I thought that way. It was, the hell if I'm going to be laying in the gutter for her to pass up in a year or two to be like, yeah, I'm glad I did that to him, and I'm with this guy. And like, my ego was very much involved. I lost like 80 pounds in like 2 months or 3 months, something crazy. And I was like, I was in the most amount of pain, but I looked great on the outside. I forgot who said it, but looking in the mirror, things are doing so good. I'm looking California, but feeling Minnesota. I think it was Soundgarden, Chris Cornell for Soundgarden. But I was looking great on the outside, and I won her back. And again, I was sorry for her affair and all this other crap. This time around, like, there was the ego. I think the ego has a place, but this was like, I didn't even have the ego. It was literally like breathing and God like helping me find another way, another approach. And this time, to forgive, but to not ever forget. And that meant like, there's no going back. This is it. Finally.
You can't have, I don't believe that you can have any type of life when you're involved with a narcissist. There can't be stability in your life. There can't be real lasting joy in your life. I don't think.
We were married for close to 20 years. I was heavily in my recovery program the first 6 or 7. But in between, I was had temporary custody. It was insane, and like there definitely was no stability. And when there's no stability, there could be no real inner peace or serenity.
Well, you and I have both changed a lot since we were in the relationships or entanglements with the narcissist. The narcissist can't change, so I don't know. I mean, we can grow, adapt, and thrive and become anybody that we want to be. And we can grow in this relationship with God, and we can have a wonderful future. I don't believe the narcissist can, because it's like what you said, you and me and anybody who goes through this work, you have to be able to look at yourself. And it's not always pretty looking at yourself in the mirror.
It was very confusing. There's a lot of you guys have watched this. Some haven't. The Matrix, where the guy is given a choice to take a red pill or a blue pill. And if he takes the red pill, he'll become awake and really know what's going on. If he takes the blue pill, he'll stay where he's at and be ignorant. And a lot of times I struggle with that. Like, I was like, man, if narcissists are ignorant and ignorance is bliss, I wish maybe I would have just not known. It's very, the pain that you go through. But I didn't choose it anyways. It came to me. It came knocking at my front door 20 years ago.
But I don't want people to freak out, because the thing is, I think that once, like, you can get through the pain, and once you get through the pain, life is, it's almost like I don't know, like you were seeing the world in black and white, and now you see it in color. It's so much better. My life is good.
You know what would have helped if there would have been videos out there? Because, like, I went through this for the last 2.5 years. I had about 6 months of peace. The rest of it was threats and CPTSD and like real life shit that was happening, not just empty threats that were happening. I wish when I was listening to videos in the past, they would have been like, if just, I wish they would have just said, listen, this is normal. Like, if you're going through this and you feel this way and you feel like you want to die and you're having suicidal thoughts, and by all means, call up the 1-800 number, but like, it's okay. Like, what you need to do is figure out a way just to get through today. And if I would have had help to start looking at myself, like, okay, let's leave the narcissist alone for a little bit here. Let's look at you. Like, so for the last 20 years, Joe, like when you first met her, like there was no red flags or nothing, buddy. You know, and somebody just kind of like walking me through how to take a look at myself, because it was then that the obsession started to lift, because I was more concerned with, holy crap, I got to do something about myself.
But you can get through it, though, right?
If I could get through it, anybody can get through it. Like, that's the reason why I'm on here. It's like,
Was it worth it, though? Was it worth it to go through the pain to get where you are now?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was. And I wouldn't want to do it again. I don't know if I could survive, but I do know that if you could find a way to get through it, and the only way through it is through it. And what I mean by that is, like, I would still be in pain if I was still just learning about narcissism and studying about it.
You need to work on yourself, because if we had worked on ourselves years ago, decades ago, we wouldn't have been involved with a narcissist in the first place.
Yes, and what does working on yourself mean? You have to ask yourself, what the hell's wrong with me?
Yeah.
You know, and then when you start looking into that,
because it doesn't make you a bad person. I
No.
did it, you did it. There's stuff about all of us. Like, and I've said to Joe too before, I don't see myself ever wanting to stop growing. You know, the way that I am today, I hope that next year at this time, I'll be saying, oh, I've grown so much from this point last year. I don't ever think that you could say, oh, you know what, Joe, I made it. Here I am. I'm like the perfect version of myself. There's always something to change and look at and do so that you can thrive in life.
I think that, like, awakenings happen in stages and there's certain levels. I don't think, like, you're either woke or you're not.
Yeah.
I think we all operate sometimes on an unconscious level, but the goal is to understand how I work more because there was a time where, and sometimes still, I don't always know what's best for me. So if I'm making unconscious decisions based on fear or anger or anything like that, the results are usually not good. So the more conscious I am and aware, the better quality of life I'm going to have in the future too.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the type of thing that Joe and I are trying to teach our kids. Like, we've been very vocal about this. We're trying to change the trajectory of our family. We want it so that our grandkids don't know this. They don't know it. They have to hear about it. They don't live it. And I think the first step to that is looking at yourself in the mirror so that you can guide the younger generations.
We all have a purpose here. We could make our liabilities into our greatest assets, and our experience and the suffering that I did can help somebody else out. I can't ever love somebody to recovery, but sometimes there's incidents where you could raise the bottom up. Like maybe somebody's out there listening that doesn't have to holy crap, I've been with this person for 2 years. Well, they got all the symptoms that Joe's ex is. Maybe they don't have to stay married for 20 years.
You definitely do
or
not.
whatever.
Oh, that would be a great thing.
If that could help when we bring the bottom up. But I'd be interested for you guys, in the comments, do you guys relate to did you guys ever have a God-shaped hole? And if so, I think I was a little bit broken before I ever met the narcissist. Part of my decision making and staying with them, if I'm honest with myself, is just asking you guys if you ever had the same thing, and if you ever tried to fill it with certain things or relationships, or I call it switching seats in the Titanic, jumping from one relationship with another. I've heard so many stories where, man, we're just what is that flies are attracted to? A flame? We're like a flame to the moth.
Flame,
and then we get into another relationship with another cluster bee.
That happens way too often. I think that probably happens to the majority of people that don't do the work they need to.
They're not looking at themselves to understand the real problems between my ears.
Yes.
You know? So, I'd be interested for anybody to share. Part of this is just sharing with each other too. We get so many great comments, and we're all students. There's only one master, and that's a God of our understanding. But if you guys want to share, please do, or any thoughts or ideas. We got a couple of different ideas that we're working on right now for future videos and stuff like that. So we'll share that with you. And also, you guys are going to catch. So I got laid off of work about 2 weeks ago, and my old boss called me back. He's got me doing a project, and I got some side work, and I'm still getting my resume out there. So I told you guys this to try to keep myself accountable. So I told Sharon too, so if you guys hear anything funny coming out of my mouth other than my normal self, or if I'm acting up, I told Sharon she's got to tell on me on the channel.
And don't worry, I will have no trouble doing that.
It'll be on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday or Friday where I'm not on, and she'll be like, you guys, so Joe, we were on Monday, but what's really happening is this.
I'll tell Joe I didn't make a video today. Sorry, nothing to see here.
Yeah, I think as empaths, we do carry some narcissistic traits, so I'm sure she might be sharing with those if I start acting up, if they start flaring up on me.
I will definitely tell on Joe, so you'll be the first to know.
I have empathy, you guys, I promise.
Yes, he does. I can vouch for that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. Joe, thank you for being here. Maybe we'll see you again this week, possibly, maybe. Yeah,
it's maybe a midweek check-in.
Yeah.
We got some really cool ideas, you guys. And actually, we could ask you guys, we could bounce some ideas off of you too. So we'll be doing that soon.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. All right, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a great week. I will see you Wednesday, maybe with Joe. But either way, I will see you Wednesday, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Have a great day, guys.